our wonderful panel that we have brought to you today. And the theme for the panel is creating sparks and culture of innovation. And we have some amazing distinguished panel members who have done a phenomenal job. I'm just going to set up the chairs properly. Who've done a phenomenal job in their own way, in their own organizations, in creating innovation and building amazing teams across the world. And I'm going to invite all the panelists to you one after the other. So first, please join me in welcoming Sanjay Tugnait, President and CEO of Fairfax Digital Services. Wonderful. So Sanjay is a visionary C-suite executive with proven record for driving digital transformation across Fortune 500 companies, making them cognitive enterprises for the future. He's a trusted advisor for clients, mentor for future leaders, and a global corporate citizen with a passion to leverage emerging technologies towards greener and sustainable planet. Sanjay is currently President and CEO of Fairfax Digital Services. In his role, he's responsible for the digital transformation, business value creation, and enabling journey to sustainability of the Fairfax Group of companies, or Fairfax Group companies globally. He's also part of G20 and Startup 20 and chairs the Sustainability Task Force. Previously, Sanjay was Chief Market Maker and Global Marketing Partner of Sustainability Practice for IBM. He was the CEO for Capgemini Canada. He was the Managing Partner for Accenture's North American Financial Services Practice. Sanjay has represented his companies at UN COP26, World Economic Forum, Davos. He's been advisor and mentor to global startups for France, India, US, Canada, all across the world. He's served on various boards from Blockchain Research Institute by Don Tapscott to being the president of Finance Canada Chamber of Commerce. We have the president of Finance Canada Chamber of Commerce here as well, board member for Trillium Health Partners Foundation, Breast Cancer Canada. He's also on the Dean Advisory Council for Schulich School of Business. He has mastered Sustainable Business Strategy program from Harvard Business School, MBA from London, and a fun fact, he's a scuba diver and an avid golfer. So, please. Next up, I'd like to welcome Sanjeev Gill, the Associate Vice President Innovation at University of Waterloo and Executive Director at Watspeed. Sanjeev Gill. With 25 years of experience in industry and academia, Sanjeev is an accomplished leader of global teams, delivering strategic transformation, business growth, and operational excellence while developing public-private partnerships for economic growth and positive societal impact. As AVP Innovation at University of Waterloo, Sanjeev enables pan-campus strategies and initiatives that bring together the full innovation capacity of the university to maximize Waterloo's impact on businesses, government, and society. As Executive Director of Watspeed, Sanjeev leads Waterloo's professional education programs at the intersection of technology and business for professionals, corporations, and executives. Prior to Waterloo, he spent 20 years with IBM Canada, holding leadership roles in innovation, supply chain, and microelectronics, led IBM's research partnerships with all Canadian universities and colleges, holds a degree in mathematics, diploma in engineering, professional certification from Harvard and Boston. He serves as a founding member of US Council General's US-Canada Innovation Partnership and board member for Future Talent Council, as well as a member of University of Waterloo's Executive Council. OCAD University Board, AGEWELL Board, iCity Board, Scientific Advisory Committees at SOSCIP and DeepSense. A lot of accomplishments. Please join me in welcoming Sanjeev Gill. And lastly, I'd like to welcome Anuradha Dodda, who's CTO for Thomson Reuters. Anu is an executive leader with 26 years of experience in retail, finance, banking, payments, tax, and trade industries, include leading technology transformations and innovation. She specializes in leveraging technology for transformation and growth and is passionate about large-scale business and tech transformations, building high-performing teams, and promoting innovation with ensuring compliance. Active tech community speaker on topics like leadership, diversity and inclusion, cloud transformation, and modern technologies. She's a strong advocate for women in tech. She's also part of our Women in Tech committee, been recognized as a leading female tech executive who's driving the technology forward. Honored to be acknowledged as one of the world's most influential executives in digital transformation, as recognized by Constellation Research Inc.'s BT 150. Please give it up for our esteemed panel. Wonderful. And introducing myself as the moderator. Gives me an opportunity to have one more glass of water. All right, so we'll get started while you set up. My first question, I'll come later to you, Anu. So my first question is to you, Sanjay. Especially considering your global multi-industry experience, what trends of innovation are you seeing globally?
First of all, thank you, Kundan, for having me here. And it really feels very proud as an Indian, as an Indo-Canadian, to see the kind of success you've been able to build. So congratulations to you and your team for the great work you're doing. Amazing. I thought when I actually became the first managing partner in Accenture, and I won't tell it because it will show my age, I was the youngest Indian origin partner in Canada, and I felt that was a great movement. But I think this is a much bigger movement for you, so just wanted to share that. I think there are three forces, given that I've actually spent a lot of time just in India, 6 visits this year because of the G20. I was appointed by Prime Minister Modi's office. A great honor to be the co-chair of the Sustainability Task Force. I spent a lot of time. But clearly we saw that there are three dominating forces. One is deglobalization, decarbonization, and digitization. And let me just take a minute and to break this up for you. So if you look at deglobalization today, post the pandemic, I think clearly the supply chains have been completely disruptive, and individual countries are now taking it upon themselves to bring the supply chains home. So there's a complete deglobalization happening. You just heard Biden 2 days ago talking about his supply chain and how he's bringing it back into the US. You're talking about Make in China, and now obviously we hear about Make in India. And that is the only way these economies will grow, because if you look at what India has been able to do, I mean, we became a 1 trillion economy in 2007. So it took us 60 years from independence to become a $1 trillion economy. 2015, we became a $2 trillion economy. So it just took us 8 years to achieve what we achieved in 60. And if you look at in 2002, we became a $3 trillion economy. So it took us 7 years to achieve what it took us from 67 years to do. And now 2030, we will become a $6 trillion economy, which means in 6 years, we will achieve what we've been able to achieve in 60 plus, no, it's 80 years. So if you look at compounded, right? So imagine in 6 years, you're achieving what you've been able to achieve. But how will this growth come? It will come through deglobalization, because once companies like Foxconn and others come into India and start manufacturing and building, the economies will grow. The second is, today is a great day because COP28 in Dubai just started off. And decarbonization is going to be a major theme. When I was at COP26 in Glasgow representing IBM, $33 trillion were chasing sustainability and ESG. And if you look at that, is going to be completely the next juggernaut for growth. And if you look at how do you manage growth, if today, 3 years ago, you did not have chief sustainability officers for any companies. No CSOs existed, right? Today, if you look at every bank on Bay Street, every top Fortune 500 company has a CSO. So it says that, and when you have a senior C-suite person, they will absolutely get money to spend, and they will create teams, and that's good. So that's the second. And I think the third thing is digitization, and that's where the topic is. And the topic of AI couldn't be at a better spot than Toronto, and I just feel that Toronto hasn't really got the kind of leverage and the growth in AI, because do you know who the godfather of AI is?
Jeffrey Hinton.
Jeffrey Hinton,
Yeah.
University of
Toronto.
And we are not known in the world as the place, the cradle of AI. We are not. And it takes for him to go to Google, which he left now. But I think this is an opportunity for us as a community from India with Jeffrey Hinton to seize and make a India-Canada digital corridor on AI.
Right.
And so I think the whole digitization, so the way I look at it is, even within Fairfax, is to kind of create a motherboard of technologies. Because a few years ago you had cloud, then you had blockchain, now chat GPT, AI is the next best thing after sliced bread. Tomorrow there'll be something else. So you basically kind of create a motherboard of technology, and then you plug in whatever technologies you want. So that's the way I look at, what are the kind of things in these three areas, if you look at deglobalization, decarbonization, and digitization. So I hope that's some perspective from where I come from.
Well said. No, thank you. Well said, Sanjay. And by the way, you reminded me, I know you mentioned not to mention the years, but almost 20 years ago, my first event after graduation for Indo-Canada Chamber of Commerce Young Professionals, I'd invited you as a speaker. Right. And that was also a sold-out event, by the way. We had 150 people show up at RBC Towers. Right. And it was such a, that was one of my inspiring
maybe
speeches.
There's something there. Every sold-out event you call me,
yeah. Exactly.
I think there's some correlation.
There is correlation, direct correlation, indeed.
Some AI algorithm.
And exactly. Wonderful. My next question is for Anu and Sanjeev. So I'll start with you, Anu. So the question is, what have you done to cultivate a culture of innovation in your organization?
Yeah, definitely. It's not one thing, in my opinion. I've been part of different organizations. It's not one particular organization that I've been for a long time. I've moved around. I think it's what is missing is what you need to put your finger on and try and really accelerate that part. For example, when I was with the bank, it was about not moving the proof of concepts or MVPs or going to clients to test it out. That part was not moving as fast as it should, because you can't take an year to test an idea. By the time you go to testing, it's already kind of lost in the game kind of a thing. So we had to, when I was part of our solution acceleration and innovation group in RBC, we had to really figure out a way to kind of push everything week by week, pre-alpha to alpha to beta to POC to MVP. So, but then when I came to TR, it's not so much of that, but it's about how do you make that innovation really successful. For that, we had to really look at will this take with our customers, and let's look at customer problems and then innovate based on that, and so that we can push these things forward. So it's kind of what is missing in terms of that innovation life cycle. I know Sanjeev will have a different perspective coming from where he's coming from, but being part of corporates and organizations, big organizations, for me it's always about what is missing and how do we push that and then get it to that finish line. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Over to you, Sanjeev.
Yeah, so thank you first of all for inviting me to be part of this. I feel very privileged to be here. Maybe I'll just share very quickly a bit of background. My family moved to Canada, immigrated in 1973, and we landed in Halifax. And I remember growing up in Halifax in the 70s. I was the only brown kid in the school, on the street. That was it for many, many, many years. But the Indo-Canadian community joined there very tightly to create a phenomenal experience for me growing up. But then you springboard to a place like Toronto, and you look around and you see what's happened.
Yeah.
In 40 years, it's absolutely mind-blowing. I think the one thing we all share in common is parents who really pushed us hard, right? I think it's probably one of the reasons, but I just thought I would share that, a little bit of background. So, innovation, I wear the title of AVP Innovation at what's classified as Canada's Innovation University. And so people ask me all the time, what do you do? I do a whole bunch of things, but one of the things that I really try to focus on in the teams that I've always led, and I don't think that there's one single blueprint for innovation, but I think there's some fundamental items that everyone has to enable to have an innovative culture. I think the first one is you have to embrace risk-taking. You have to reward risk-taking, not just abashed risk-taking, but calculated risk-taking. So you have to have a systematic approach that allows your people to advance whatever they're doing by taking some risk. You have to put it into their goal systems, you have to measure it, and then you have to reward that risk. You also have to reward failure. And you have to be comfortable with failure, because if you're not comfortable with failure, people really won't take real risks. They'll take intermediary little steps and call it innovation. That's not true innovation. And I think that's the sort of culture that is absolutely required. So those are some of the fundamental things that I think are needed to develop a bit of an innovation culture. I'll share a little bit of the University of Waterloo and what makes it an innovation sort of capital. First thing is an intellectual property policy. People wonder, why is that important? We have this policy 73, and it's called the inventor-owned IP policy. What it means is that whatever you create at the university, whether you're a faculty member or a student working in a lab, a staff member, it doesn't matter, your ideas are your own. The university does not take any stake in your idea. In fact, they give you all the supports that you need to go off and commercialize your idea. If you take advantage of the patent office, the commercialization office, they take less than 15% of a license for royalty license long term. That's it, nothing else. The rest is yours. Then they back that up with incubators in all of the faculties. In every department you go to, there are student incubators that help you take your ideas, figure out, how do I take this idea and turn it into a company? And then we have larger incubators. So you graduate from the faculty incubator to a university level incubator called Velocity in Waterloo. And that's where, obviously, there's a lot of VC money coming in, a lot of capital into those companies to take them from being startups to scale-ups. I tell you that story because it's a systematic approach to innovation. It's rewarded, it's backed, and it becomes the fundamental backbone and culture of the university. The last thing I'll say is from my experience in the corporate world, and for those of you I've met a couple of people who did their stint in IBM. Everyone seems to have done their stint in IBM, right? And so one of the things you do in IBM is you wake up every morning and the world's moving so fast you have to figure out how to reinvent yourself. Because if you don't reinvent yourself, you're out of a job. And I had the fortune and challenge of running IBM's supply chain organization in Canada for a number of years. So an organization with about 1,000 people, roughly a $250 million OPEX, it was a cost center organization. When you're in a cost center, every year you have to take 10% out of the business. That's your measurement. At some point, you can only take so many humans out of the equation. At some point, you have to begin innovating on the tiniest small procedures. And in a logistics organization, you're talking about warehousing, processes, and pick, pack, and ship. And I will tell you, the supply chain organization is one of the best organizations to drive innovation because they have to. It's built into the business, and you must do it. You got to wake up thinking about it every single day. So those are just some ideas on what I think it takes to build a culture of innovation.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for that, Sanjeev. Please. I mean, obviously, talking about reinventing ourselves and innovation and creating innovative cultures. I mean, one thing that obviously comes to mind, especially, I mean, for many of us since last November, is just the pace at which things are moving, right? I mean, and especially considering the evolution, the fast-paced evolution of emerging technologies. My question, I'll start with you, Sanjay, is how do you make sure, what do you do to make sure your organization is adapting to the pace, to that fast pace of evolving new technologies?
Thank you, Kundan, for that question. And I think for that, just a 30-second on Fairfax, because I don't know how many people understand and know about Fairfax. Have you been to the Bangalore airport? Okay, so that's owned by Fairfax. So we actually are the ones who see. I can see some eyebrows raising. You didn't know that. It's today, as of date, just a month ago, it got rated in the 25 million passenger category as the #1 airport on time flights in the world. Okay, it's a very proud moment for us, innovation, right? Because we do that sustainability. If you look at how many people have eaten in a Kelsey or a Keg or a Swiss chalet. So those are restaurants, 1,500 restaurants. We are the largest chain of restaurants. It's owned by Fairfax. So globally, we are about $120 billion in assets. Our core business is insurance and reinsurance. We are among the top 10 P&C companies in the world, and that generates about 33 billion revenue for us. And then from that revenue is when we look at investing. So insurance and investments are kind of the two things which we do really well. And then we go and acquire companies across the globe. So that's kind of just a background on Fairfax. In the light of that, because we are a completely decentralized model where each of the individual company CEOs run and operate their businesses as independent companies, we based out of the head office, which is at 95 Wellington, where our chairman and CEO, Prem Vatsa, and my mentor is based out of, basically looks at innovation, through each of these companies. So there's no centralized innovation. So that's something which I just want to get. And each of these businesses are innovating to succeed in the market. Mm-hmm. So if you look at individually each of these businesses, whether it's Golf Town, we innovated and pivoted because nobody was golfing during COVID, right? So we went 40% online. And as soon as the courses, because they were the first one to open, because the people had to get out, and they said no better place than golf courses for people to learn, because they would not kind of interact and mingle together to get COVID. And because we had pivoted and gone completely online, you couldn't go to stores to buy, where you could buy online, and then we could so build the whole supply chain. So we are innovating in each of our businesses, and we are working with partners. So and this is where the India-Canada collaboration happens. So for example, I don't know how many of you have ever traveled or booked with Thomas Cook. So Thomas Cook again is the Fairfax company, and we've just created now for the first time a digital platform on sustainability called Green Carpet. And we did that with the Indian company, which is LTI Mindtree. And we are now taking it global. So we've now got, in India, we've launched it. So SEBI has mandated 1,000 of the top companies. SEBI is the financial arm. And so that's what we're doing. I was just talking to Counsel General that in January, I'm so proud that we are launching our first agri-tech lab with our company called Farmers Edge, which is based in Winnipeg. And Farmers Edge is now partnering and launching a Farmers Edge innovation lab in Bombay, and we will then service the Indian market for yield improvement, for sustainable farming. So we are innovating in each of our individual businesses, and I think innovation has to be focused on three simple things as a CEO: revenue generation, cost optimization, and process efficiency. If you do not get innovation to focus on those three parameters and make them outcome based, you can keep spinning wheels and nothing's going to come out. So you really need to focus on revenue generation, cost optimization, and process efficiency, and then innovation needs to lead into that.
Thank you. Anu, if you may want to add to that as well.
I mean, I cannot disagree with that at all. I think I would say it differently. If your innovation is fueled by any one of those three things, it will be accelerated to its finish line without any doubt. So I'll tell a little bit of what's going on at TR. So at TR, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the company, but we offer highly specialized information-enabled software to tax, legal, accounting, risk professionals, obviously combined with world-class news agency writers, right? So we do have hundreds of thousands of customers who are law firms, government agencies, CPA firms, global accounting firms, and whatnot. So right now, basically what we do in general as a company is we have our own unique and trusted content that we acquire and procure from like 5,000 plus sources and 7,000 plus authors, like lawyers. They author their own content and provide it to us, and then we feed it back to products like Westlaw, Practical Law. If you're a lawyer, you know these products. If you're a tax accountant, you know some of the products. So right now, I think Sanjay was alluding to it before, like, you know, even in my 26 years of career, I have seen some of these hype cycles and kind of, you know, performed a lot during the transformation phases followed by the hype cycles. It is, whether it is advent of internet, like .com boom, or smartphone, or social media, or whatnot. I think for these professionals that we provide solutions, we think generative AI is going to be as big or bigger kind of a transformative impact. And that's kind of what we are working on. Like, as a company, we just launched our kind of Gen AI vision and strategy with $100 million investment backing into the technology side of the house. So our vision is really to put an AI assistant in the hands of these tax and accounting professionals or legal professionals, because you know, it is going to kind of automate, and machine will do some of these tasks. For example, a lawyer is reviewing a contract. How good it will be if it's reviewed by the machine and then he's just checking up on it from a policy perspective, or if he wants to summarize something. So those are the things that we are focused on, leveraging this, obviously the hype cycle of Gen AI. And our own content that we curate kind of helps us around. So we're very confident in that strategy. So that's how I think, like, you know, innovation, when you as an organization wants to really get something out of the door, because there is an advantage to your customers, or there is a benefit to your revenue or growth, I think we will just push ourselves in terms of whether it's embracing new technology or embracing something completely out of your way. It just naturally happens. So I really agree with you on that.
Well said. Very good examples.
If I may just sort of cue on that and what you mentioned earlier, right? Using innovation for revenue growth, cost efficiency, and process optimization. And you obviously, today we can't talk about innovation without talking about Gen AI. So thanks for mentioning Gen AI. So would like to open it up to the panel, specifically Gen AI and those three aspects of innovation. Any examples that come to your mind that you are actually using AI to bring those optimizations to both Sanjeev and Sanjay?
Yeah, so so on Gen AI, because we're really embedded in this at the university. As you can imagine, we've got lots of research going on in AI in general, you know, machine learning and NLP, but now obviously with generative AI, every organization is coming to the university to wanting to learn more. How do I integrate it into my business? What do I need to think about? What are the societal implications? One thing I will say, in all the conversations I've had with C-suite across, I would say probably the Fortune 100, every single CIO, CTO, and CEO is grappling with what to do, but they're not waiting. I had a great conversation with the CTO of Boeing in Southern California a few weeks ago. And Boeing has two CTOs. They have a CTO for their enterprise, and they have a CTO for all the planes. Anything that flies, they really separate the businesses when they think about technology, because obviously they have to be a lot more conservative on the side of the business that deals with NASA and Homeland Security and planes. But the CTO on the enterprise side has already launched half a dozen programs across finance, HR, the list goes on. You know, all the internal plumbing of the enterprise. They've built localized LLMs. I think they work with Microsoft to do this, and they're off to the races. And I was blown away. He said, we've been doing this for 6 months. And all we do is we just upgrade to the next GPT technology as it comes along. And this is Boeing. This is a an old conservative company that, it blew my mind. So certainly one of the things that we're doing, in our little microcosm at the university is I've given everyone in my organization a license. Just go use it. Use the technology, understand the technology, try to build best practices, and then go share that with your community. Find out what's imperfect, and then point that out to individuals so that we all learn together as a community on what the do's and the don'ts.
Right.
Obviously, you hear the stories about intellectual property. Samsung was the first one. Their engineering group gave away all sorts of intellectual property to get better answers from using ChatGPT. I think the world has gotten a lot smarter now about this. I would say Canada has to move faster. Jeffrey Hinton, Bengio, right?
Yeah.
The godfathers of AI, who I will also say are having a bit of their Oppenheimer moment, which is, oh my God, what have we done, right? But as a country, we have so much intellectual firepower around AI, we have to capitalize on it. Otherwise, it will be the biggest lost opportunity, in my opinion, in history.
Yeah.
In history. I know you use the word hype. Look, I'm not professing that everyone needs to jump into this technology. The genie is out of the bottle, the toothpaste is out of the tube, whatever you want to call it. It's moving, and we have to get on with it as a nation in a smart way, in a responsible way, but we can't slow down because otherwise it'll be a tremendous opportunity loss.
For sure. No, thank you.
And I remember, this is important because this is Canada's movement, and I think Canada and India need to combine their forces in some way on this whole AI. I mean, for example, we have vector AI. Jeffrey Hinton was kind of the one who's incubated and started that. India should take a leap on that. We should have our own vector, AI kind of institution. Because if you're looking at that kind of economic growth which we are bringing, we completely need to enable Canada, to all the research and the intellect happening in Canada, and I think the growth and the scale can happen in India. And I think a combination of those two is completely lethal. So just coming to a very kind of realistic common man example. So Thomas Cook, as I mentioned, I don't know how many of you have used Thomas Cook. Have you read the book Around the World in 80 Days? By any chance, Phileas Fogg? So he booked his trip by Thomas Cook. So you can imagine how old that company or the entity is. Fairfax is the proud owner. It's listed on the Bombay Stock Exchange. So Fairfax Digital, along with Thomas Cook and LTI and Mindtree, we created, as I said, the first kind of digital sustainable platform. And I called it Green Carpet because we had the flying carpet by Alibaba, and I thought, best to call it a green carpet. And in that we have a feature. So let's say, if you want to take a flight from, Toronto to London, we will be enabling you, because what Thomas Cook does, it's a B2B model. And you would be sitting, let's say, in Canada Goose. So all Canada Goose flights, tickets and and Forex is all done by Thomas Cook, for example, if you were in India. And we would actually be having either an individual or a terminal sitting there. So you could actually log on to our system and now the green carpet and say, if I want to fly from Toronto to London, it will then enable and calculate using pulling data that, okay, do you want to fly Emirates? It's a 300 or a 737 or Boeing, and this is the kind of carbon emission it will generate for you. And what is the best lowest carbon emission it will generate? And that's how ChatGPT and Gen AI we've been able to incorporate. And you get that answer, and then you as a consumer decide that if I want to be more green and sustainable for the companies, and then we enable that, and then you book your ticket based on which is the most sustainable journey on that. So we're using very much, and this is a revenue growth for us because we are able to get more customers and more companies to actually fly because they feel that this is Thomas Cook is offering the green option, and then we reward you as an employee again, and then you have chatbots and all of that, which all of us do. But this is one of the most innovative Gen AI, which without Gen AI wouldn't have been possible, because scraping all of the airlines database and calculation and all of that, and then pulling that with an answer wouldn't have been possible. So just to kind of bring it home, at a very basic level, Gen AI, again, as I said, it's being used for revenue generation in this case, and which has been a very big thing for us and for the employers.
Oh, thank you. Some amazing case studies. Thank you. So I've been informed that we are running overtime, and I know that like the audience here can ask a lot more, like lot smarter questions than me. So I'm going to pause my questions and put it over to the audience. Okay, Aditya has a question.
Hey guys, thank you so much. This was such a riveting and interesting exchange. I'm a climate enthusiast. Outside of RBC, I invest in providing working capital and project finance solutions for sustainable projects at a community level. And often the question is, can you still make money while being the best in class in ESG? Can you still be best in class, or do you have to adhere to minimum standards and at the cost of profits? A very quick fun fact for me, all the thank you emails that go back and forth in UK are equivalent to 80,000 flights from London to Lisbon. That's how much carbon is emitted every time you send like a thank you email, just thanking your colleague or a person. So while technology is good, innovation is good, but it's also has an opportunity cost or a trade-off. So my question to the panel is, can you really be as profitable and compete with companies who are perhaps only doing minimum standard ESG or not even doing ESG, while being best in class in the ESG, and still be profitable and still attract investors?
Great question.
So, if you're looking at, so I think this is the first time in the last 2 years is where purpose meets profit, and I really mean it, and that's why every company is going after the ESG bandwagon, including RBC, for example. And we are actually talking to Sue within RBC. I just had breakfast with Dave Mackay, your CEO. And I think there is a huge collaborative opportunity of how large companies like RBC, and we are talking about something very simple, is sustainable farming. And along with sustainable farming, you can actually add sustainable lending. And that's how you generate profit. Because if a farmer feels that you're offering sustainable lending and improving his yields by 30-40%, and he's getting carbon credits which you can buy back, so it's a circularity. And therefore, farmer is happy, they generate money, they get better yields. RBC is happy because they can get sustainable lending done to the farmer. So believe me, and if this was not profitable, ESG, as I said, profit means, if you just look around, every consulting organization has an ESG practice now. And you know when a technology has arrived or a wave has arrived, if the consulting folks jump on. I come from that brethren. So I actually started the IBM ESG business. And today you look at McKinsey or anybody else, they all have large ESG practices which are doing extremely well. So you know this is arrived. Profit is meeting purpose, and whether it's the energy companies converting to fossil, non-fossil fuel, consumers will not buy them. And like we had organic, farming and organic growth, where you were paying a premium, you just watch it. The retailers will start saying that this is sustainable farming grown vegetable, and you will pay a premium for it. That's why the Whole Foods phenomenon happened. So profit is meeting purpose for the first time. And this is a very, very profitable. If you're not going to jump on this, like the OpenAI, you're going to get lost out.
Is profit meeting purpose without policy, or is policy intervention required for the companies to actually?
So policy is, okay, so who's in the government? I mean, if I ask the CG, I mean, these are all common people who are, a little bit more intellectual than you and me. So they are also learning at the same time. This is not something which they have been taught in their IAS or IFS cadre, right? So India now is saying, okay, SEBI said for the last 2 years, COP26 was announced that I will give you a 2-year window, the top 1,000 companies, to start generating ESG reports. And then they said, okay, from this year, it's mandated. Same is being done with Canada, same was being done with New Zealand. So if you look at even Rishi Sunak, now you cannot get a financial reporting done without an ESG report, period. So regulation is extremely important. It's like going back to school, right? I mean, unless you were, punished or tutored, you were not generating the best marks. So I think regulation is important. So policy, people, planet, purpose, and policy are all important. So you need to capture, measure, benchmark, and report for ESG.
Neha?
Sorry, sure.
I just have a follow-up question actually for you, Sanjay. Like just building on what Dr. Day was just saying, what are the guardrails that the next generation that you're working with in the university and the innovation space? What are guardrails that you're playing with in terms of sort of ethics and then carbon emissions and sustainability? Like how do you actually balance that to say, hey, build a solution, build the next this big thing, but gatekeep it, and then like hone that down to actually have a world in which that you can actually live in the next 50 years? Like, how do you actually deal with that?
Great question, and let me start with a commercial on ESG rather. So we're actually in the process of building education for corporations around ESG, and I'm going to steal the 4 Ps. People, profit, planet, policy. Yeah. Maybe it's 5.
No, 4. It's like the costless 4P of marketing. I converted them into 4P of ESG.
So, to your question about guardrails, one of the things that we do is we always look at this term in universities. We use interdisciplinary research predominantly. Why? Because when you're looking at a solution that is a sustainability solution, and we're engaging our researchers from the Faculty of Environment, we bring in our faculty from our School of Accounting and Finance to build an ESG solution, and then we don't lose sight of when we talk about technologies, for example. If we're talking about the proliferation of AI, let's not lose sight of the massive data farms that are required, data centers for miles and miles and miles. Sam Altman, who was at our Tech Horizons Executive Forum a few weeks ago at the Royal York, just before he got fired and then rehired, right? But he actually, his request was, please stop using ChatGPT this week, because we literally run out of services. We can't lose sight of the green impact that technology has. So our solution, it's not a solution, I don't even know how eloquent it is really, but it is when you marry up different points of view from different academics, you expose technology and humanity. You expose sustainability and finance. And you get it all, you get a better answer with guardrails. It's not just a one-sided, let's go study this thing and then share our knowledge with the corporate world. You have to bring that unbiased, best perspective you possibly can.
I think it's challenging though, right? It's like the psychology of how much you push you're naturally just driven by the profit, the revenue generating, and the 3 things that we talked about. If you actually take that, at what point does the human psychology come into play to say, at this point, 0.03 carbon emissions, every time you send an email out, like, come on, there's a powerful stat in that, but we don't keep that as a forefront. And so knowing full well that Gen Z is driven by those motivators and those values, it'd be really interesting to see just generally how we evolve and how we continue to curtail and balance innovation with sustainability, right? Like, I think that's just a phenomenal idea.
If I can add something, as someone being in the middle of all of this, Neha, I think it's really important to have a strong focus on the responsible use and AI ethics. Every organization needs to have that. I mean, we do need that regulatory aspect of it as well, but then we are still kind of trying to figure out, right? I mean, that executive order is, okay, one step in that direction, but we don't have a cross-industry regulatory framework or something that we can go by, like we have for payments, for example, right? But until then, I think every organization should have a very strong AI ethics, and like every AI model we either design, develop, or deploy, like we have get to go through all of that, right? It's responsible use and transparent use is very important at this point because you don't know if the fairness is coming to with what you're experimenting, or you don't know security and privacy about the data that you're using is being followed. So this is the time where we are excited. Yes, we see some opportunity for us to push ourselves, but at the same time, we should have that carbon organization within each organization that protects us from any of that is happening.
Like you said, hype with discipline, right? Hype with discipline.
Sorry, I know. Just one response, and we want to move to the next activity because it's also important. Sorry, Sanjay. Yeah.
So I think just what Anu said, and I think I like to always end the session with giving ourselves collectively one goal to achieve. And if I can be so bold enough. So I think CITC is a great organization, and I see a great mission out there. And I always am a goal-driven, goal-oriented person. So if we collectively have the best minds, we have financial institutions. So July 14 is Bastille Day. It's the French Revolution when it's celebrated. And because I'm the president of the France Canada, it's a very important day for us as Indians. Because this time Prime Minister Modi was invited. It's equal to our Republic Day. He was a guest of honor. But one thing happened on that day, which was very important, is he went to the Eiffel Tower and he bought his ticket using UPI. Do people know what UPI is, right? Unified Payment. Okay. So it's owned by a company called NPCI. It is now kind of the blue-eyed baby for Prime Minister Modi, but for also India, because we have surpassed any digital payments across the globe. I think collectively as CITC and Kundan for you and Chiji, if I may, I think if we can come together, I would love to have Prime Minister Modi come here on CN Tower and buy his ticket on UPI. That should be our common goal. And I think that will set the corridor of digital corridor between India and Canada. So if collectively we can all sign up to this one goal, which I think will be path-breaking, is to have Prime Minister Modi come to CN Tower, whenever that is, and actually have him buy the ticket using UPI would be a good goal to have.
Okay, we're going to move. There might be time for more questions, but we're going to move to the next section, which is also very important from a CITC. We'll still have the panelists here. So this is a forum goal. So I mean, obviously, we have great panelists here. We had some great discussions, some great questions. But the most important part is for us to engage with each other. So what we're going to do is, if I can ask each of you to make a group of 3 people. So grab someone on your right or left, or 2 people on your left, whichever way it is. I want all of you, and 3 of you can, if I may ask, to collaborate. We are all peers here. The goal is, let's reflect on all the discussions that happened here. There was a mission that was given. There were some interesting perspectives. Share any key game-changing takeaways that resonated with you, or you related to, or any of your perspectives on the topics with each other. And then based on your discussions, once you have that discussion, we'll have an opportunity for a couple of questions that arise out of it, or a couple of perspectives that come out of it. So it's an opportunity for us to now have those conversations with each other. It was originally supposed to be 10 minutes, but we are late, so we're going to give 5 minutes for this exercise. Thank you.